This is Steffi AI. Focusing on news developments in AI and legal space. Please subscribe to my channel. A firm balance must be struck between fostering innovation and deterring excessive risk-taking for regulation to be effective. Regulation that is either too lax or too severe might hinder development or fail to stop fraud that poses a risk to the stability of the financial and economic system. China significantly relies on adaptable, implicit laws that support explicit rules in addressing this trade-off. China's corporate culture is quite at ease with ambiguity, which is occasionally created by this dependence on implicit laws. However, this uncertainty does not constitute breaching the law. Instead, it aids businesses and the government in navigating a fast-moving world where conventional regulation can reasonably keep up with the quickly shifting environment. Norms that have not been formally codified into rules but nevertheless define appropriate behavior are known as implicit regulation. Such unstated rules are frequently articulated as top government officials' opinions in China. Compared to their Western counterparts, Chinese news channels give far greater weight to these comments. For instance, a comparison of top Chinese and American news sources, coverage of fintech news, reveals that news articles in Chinese are far more likely to name a senior government official than those intended for a Western audience. Surprisingly, these coverage disparities persist even within publications owned by the same publisher and cater to distinct population. The discrepancies in business news reporting highlight how crucial implicit restrictions are in China. The flexibility of implicit legislation gives the government the ability to react swiftly to rapidly changing conditions. However, flexibility might result in arbitrariness, which could undermine the fundamental point of regulation as a system of laws that everyone must abide by. The arbitrary nature of China's implicit regulation is restrained by at least two considerations. First, the motivations of the individual regulatory agencies are kept in check by the power of the Chinese government and its overall emphasis on economic growth. Second, despite preserving the primacy of written laws, China's lengthy legal history has given implicit norms a place. The interaction between China's implicit and explicit rules follows a predictable pattern since most Chinese regulators want to support economic growth. Innovation, especially financial innovation, is sometimes first permitted to flourish with few, if any, clear guidelines. Regulators intervene if and when there are indications of misconduct by offering tacit direction rather than publishing specific restrictions. Explicit and frequently stringent laws come next if tacit rules are unable to control the excesses that officials are worried about. When clear regulations are passed, a rush of additional regulations is produced. While to an outsider these rules may appear random, they simply codify the prior, implicit, and hence publicly unnoticed direction. The development of Chinese peer-to-peer lending is a recent illustration of this regulatory cycle. P2P outlets initially surfaced in China in 2007. However, the first clear legislation aimed at this sector was not released until 2014. Senior Chinese officials at first showed support for the sector. For instance, China's President Xi Jinping urged the growth of inclusive finance in a speech on November 9, 2015. Defaults increased, and fraud signals became more visible as P2P's expansion picked up speed. However, the government did not explicitly prohibit P2P. Instead, it started sending out clear messages that fraud and financial wrongdoing should stop. A significant change in the government's stance came when Xi specifically named Yizhebao and Zhongqing as two P2P lenders and stated that they were engaging into fraudulent operations that had to stop. Finally, in 2019, the government announced a number of specific regulations that essentially brought China's P2P market to a halt. Now, the question arises, how can a company executive from other countries adjust to China's particular regulatory framework? First of all, it's essential to learn that they have to be at ease with uncertainty, which in China fosters both innovation and permits the businesses to experiment. Secondly, corporate executives need to have a focus on the law, specifically its meaning and the language that is used. Additionally, government officials' formal statements are really one way to learn about the spirit of the legislation. Third, and businesses have to always abide by the written regulation. In China, specifically, ambiguity does not permit any breaches of the law. So this was a very important outline of AI can potentially help in reading China's rules and regulation, and how it can make a significant difference for new entrepreneurs and managers to really deal and navigate the Chinese regulatory environment, be it explicit rules and regulation or implicit. This is Dev AI, focusing on news developments in AI and legal space. Please subscribe to my channel, put any questions or feedback in the comment section. Goodbye.